All right, so if you don't know why apartment locating is the most exciting brand new real estate niche, then you're not going to want to miss this episode, because we're going to talk about what the heck apartment locating actually is, and we're going to talk about how some real estate agents, licensed realtors, decide to actually focus on apartment locating once they discover what it actually is, because most people and professionals don't even know what apartment locating is. I mean, just ask yourself, did you know what the apartment locating industry was before I just brought it up? The chances are you probably didn't, right? Because if you look at the statistics, right, there are about 1.3 million active realtors in today's market compared to less than 10,000 apartment locators that are really full-time leveraging this business model and earning six figures from home. So don't go anywhere unless you absolutely hate the idea of brand new business industry discoveries and paradigm shifts, right? Because that's what apartment locating pretty much at the end of the day is, right? It's a paradigm shift because it's a brand new real estate niche that allows you to work in such a different way compared to traditional real estate agents to earn the same or more money on a monthly basis. So this episode is going to be all about how you can use apartment locating to earn a full-time income and have a lot of fun while doing it. All right, guys, so let's just jump right into it, right? The first question I get regarding what apartment locating is simply, where does the business model actually exist, right? Because the truth is, apartment locating is a very new sub niche, right? And not every state inside of the United States has really understood well and adopted this sort of business model, right? I anticipate that here in the next few years, more and more states are actually going to find out about what the apartment locating business model is. Hopefully my content actually helps to promote that, because it just makes sense for all parties involved, right? So the first thing we should discuss right now is all of the states where apartment locating is actually a lucrative opportunity. And then I'm going to show you how easy it is as an apartment locator to first generate a lead and close them over the phone and send over an invoice, right? So we're going to talk about absolutely everything it takes to become an apartment locator and how to actually make money in this video. So don't miss any of that stuff, right? You can watch half the content of my other videos, but you don't want to miss a single minute of this one if you don't know what apartment locating is, because I'm about to freaking blow your mind with how valuable and awesome and relatively straightforward and easy this business model is for you to be a part of. All right, guys, so this is the coverage map, right? I'm going to show you all the states where this is actually lucrative. And so let's see if this applies to you, right? So this is the coverage map. This is like one of the largest apartment locating database services that we actually pay for on a monthly basis, which is the only real expense you actually have to pay for as a real estate agent that's doing the apartment locating business model. All you got to really pay for is your apartment locating database. And this is where you do everything, right? Select relevant properties for clients, send out the list via email, with your email response attached to it. And this is actually how you send invoices too. So the whole job is literally done through a $30 a month tool, right? I mean, compare that to being a realtor, right? Where you need to pay for like fees to be a part of like your board of realtor, whatever in your state. Right here, it's like the Austin Board of Realtors. If you're in Austin, Texas, you got to pay a fee to be in there. You got to pay for your super key, pay for access to the MLS, and all these little fees that no one really talks too much about, that end up being thousands of dollars every single year, right? And that's standard for most realtors, right? But when you're an apartment locator, to not have to pay for any of that stuff and just pay for a $30 a month tool that does everything for your quick, fast-paced business is a really big deal, right? So this is the only real expense we have. I teach other softwares inside of my masterclass to my paid students to really kind of scale things up and work more efficiently, but they're not really required. This is the only required piece of software that you even really need to start earning a full-time income as well, right? And we teach Trello for organization. When you start generating your leads, I like to organize everything on Trello, but Trello is free in the first place, so it doesn't even really matter, right? All right, so let's talk about all the states where this is possible, right? If you're in Alabama, you can straight up apartment locate. Look at all these states: Arizona, Colorado. I'm a licensed broker associate in Colorado. Denver is a really, really good market and they pay good commissions. California, you're good. Washington, D.C., you're good. Florida, you're good. Some of my most successful students actually work inside of the Florida market as well. And they love it. Like the commissions are very, very big, $2,000 flat fees and higher. So Florida's great. Georgia. I have another very successful student in Atlanta, Georgia, as an apartment locator. And look, you've got other markets as well, right? So Indiana, you're straight. Illinois, you're good. Oklahoma, you're good. North Carolina, Nevada, Missouri, Mississippi, Minnesota, Michigan, Massachusetts, Louisiana, even Maryland, where I was raised, in Baltimore. Kansas, Oregon, Ohio, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Texas is a market I am in. Virginia and Washington, right? So these are all the states, right? If you see your state on the coverage map, you're good and you can take advantage of this relatively easy compared to anything else you can do with your real estate license business, and you can make a full-time income by working from home as a real estate agent. You guys should be really getting excited about this business model, because where else can you pay only $30 a month as a real estate agent and make a giant income in an easier niche, right? So that's why I'm really excited about this business. That's why I actually do the business myself, and that's why I teach it, and I'm passionate about teaching it because it makes sense, right? And another thing is, sometimes I have like students in like really interesting states with not a lot of markets, right? Like Missouri, and they do okay in one market, but then they're a little sad because they want to do more business. And a big solution I always give my students that are crushing it in one market, but they wish they could have like more lead gen, is just pay for this company will give you an option to pay for all markets in whatever your state is for a reduced price. Instead of paying like 30 or 40 bucks a month for each market, they give you like a bundle discount for all the states, right? So the best thing to do as an apartment locator is to really go ahead and work in all of the little cities in your state as a bundle, so it's cheaper for you and you can actually have more coverage, right? And I teach that the best method to work with as an apartment locator is to work remotely, actually helping your clients over text and email and maybe FaceTime, and that's it, right? So I teach that driving around, setting tours and going on tours with your client is not really an ideal way to make the most amount of money in this business. So the point here is, if you're working in the style that I recommend and that I teach and that I really believe in myself, then you might as well get all of the markets in your state. So that way you can have a tremendous amount of business and actually succeed almost guaranteed, right? All right, so that covers the coverage map on if it could be an opportunity for you. Now I want to talk about more of why the idea and the concept of apartment locating is a really smart tactic and strategy to build a real estate pipeline, especially if you're a beginner in real estate. Like if you're a beginner real estate agent, apartment locating makes the most sense out of everything else I've studied, right? Because it's a really, really easy way to market for free on free platforms. As you can imagine, there is so much more rental activity of everyday people that are interested in renting an apartment on a daily basis, right? Like there's more activity and traffic for potential leads and customers if they're just looking to rent an everyday apartment, right? And so if you can generate those clients with free advertisements online, you can quickly build a clientele of renters way faster than you can build a clientele of home buyers or home sellers or getting listings if you're a traditional realtor, right? So it really makes sense if you're just starting off, but even if you're an advanced broker and you've got systems already in place, you're making a lot of money, maybe you're an experienced realtor, it's also a good idea to start looking into apartment locating, because it is another division of real estate, right? It's a separate niche in itself that if you're an experienced realtor will probably come a lot easier to you, since you're already in a more challenging field being a realtor, where you guys have to work with a lot of paper contracts, negotiations, a lot of back and forth, a lot of legality and legal terms, right? You don't work with any paperwork as an apartment locator at all, and you don't even set tours with clients or appointments, right? So if you're a realtor and you're interested in apartment locating, you're going to be surprised on how easy the transition really can be, and how fast and quick paced generating and closing your leads will be compared to being a traditional realtor. So it should be exciting for you if you're an experienced realtor as well. why apartment locating makes a lot of sense, right? So the thing here is starting in stage 2. That's the big analogy that I'm going to give you guys a couple examples of, and then it'll really kind of put it into perspective for you why apartment locating makes sense, right? So if you think about any example really in life, right? You know how when you start in stage 2 and you don't start at stage 1, how it's like you have a less chance to succeed, right? That's like, just wrap your mind around that one, right? So if we talk about, like, let me give you an example, right? Like an analogy would be like riding a bike, right? When you're a little kid and you first started riding a bike, right? You didn't just ride the cool bike that all the cool kids are riding with no training wheels on, right? Because you probably would fall a lot, and there's a very, very low chance that you're just gonna be a kid and then jump on a bike and start riding it, you know, the way you're supposed to without falling, right? There's a low chance of that actually happening, because that would be stage 2, is riding a bike with no training wheels on, right? But if you start with training wheels as a kid, you know, obviously there's a much higher success rate of you riding a bike without falling. And over time, you're getting so comfortable in that stage 1 process of riding a bike, and you're building a relationship with the bike you're riding, right? So that way, when you take the training wheels off of the bike, there's now a much higher chance that you're not going to fall, right? Because you started in stage 1, really built a relationship with your bike, and you got more comfortable before proceeding on to stage 2. Let me give you another analogy as an adult, right? So if you're an adult and you're a guy or something, right, and you see a super pretty girl, like a super hot girl, right? What do we all want to do as men when we see a super hot girl, right? We want to go and kiss the pretty girl. Duh, right? That's what it's all about, is kissing the pretty girl, right? But think about if you just walked up to a whole bunch of pretty girls and you just asked to kiss them, right? You're probably not gonna get an approval, right? You're probably going to get rejected over and over and over again, because you're trying to start in stage 2 and you just want that kiss right away, right? Whereas instead, if you would have started in stage 1 in this analogy and you asked the girl out on a date, take me for example, right? You walk up to a girl and you say, "Hey, what's up? My name's Pierre. You know, I think you're really beautiful, and I think we could have a really good time going on a date. Would you like to go on a date with me?" You know, she'll probably think to herself that, hey, you had a lot of manners and the courage to walk up to her. She'll probably give you a chance and let you take her out on a date, right? At a much higher success rate than just walking up to her and going, "Hey, what's up? I think you're really hot. Like, let me kiss you," right? You're going to get rejected if you take that approach and you try to start in stage 2, right? So that's the big analogy here. You can almost relate this to so many other examples within your life, right? Starting at stage 2, you know, while it may work sometimes, right? Like if you're really attractive, maybe a girl will just let you kiss her, like without even knowing you, right? But most likely it's not going to work, right? It's the same thing as being a realtor or a real estate agent. You know, if you're trying to represent someone's property and get a listing agreement, like if they don't know you, right? And you don't have this grand social media following, and you're not the top 10 realtor in whatever your city is, right? There's a really low chance that, you know, someone with a decently, you know, valued property is just going to let you right off the bat through a cold call, you know, take their listing and attempt to sell their house, right? Especially because whenever you put a property on the market, it's like there's a record of that now, right? So no one really wants their property to sit around with an incompetent agent that's listing it if it's going to be on their record, right? People just want to go with a competent agent so they can get the home sold, right? So it's hard to get a listing if the clients don't really know you and you haven't built a relationship with them, right? And it's the same thing as being a buyer's agent. So instead, if you start at stage 1 and you first work as an apartment locator, you're going to have a lot of success, first of all, profiting when you help your clients lease an apartment. You know, you'll make $1,000 to $2,000 to $3,000 per each leased apartment, right? So that's a good thing in itself, right? But then later, if you know how to leverage like sophisticated tools like a CRM and really nurture the relationship throughout their lease term, so these clients are always thinking of you, you know, it becomes much easier to later represent them as their realtor when they're ready to start the journey in their lives to buy a house. So that way you can become their buyer's agent in a much, much easier way. And then when they're ready to sell their house, you can become their listing agent because they already know you through first of all being their apartment locator, to helping them buy a house, to now helping them sell a house, right? So all of that works a lot better when you start at stage one and you help people rent their apartments, right? Because, if you study some of the most successful business mentors and coaches of all time, right? Everyone recommends that if you're an entrepreneur or a business professional, right, or a real estate agent, right, it's a big recommendation to sort of understand your own client avatar, right? The term that I see in the industry a lot is they call it your client avatar, right? Like you need to really intimately understand your customer in whatever your field is, right? So if you're a real estate agent and you're interested in helping people buy property and sell their property, then you need to understand your customer avatar and the journey that they take in life, before getting to that point, right? The more overall you can, sort of understand your customer avatar in your industry, the more successful you will be, right? So if we take someone that buys a house, we need to ask ourselves, like how did that happen? How did they get there? What's the first step that person took before they bought their house, before, now they're trying to sell their house, right? And if you really dive deep and think about that, so we can really understand our own real estate customer avatar, right? You'll notice that these people, first of all, they rent an apartment, right? So what's the first thing you do after leaving your parents' house as an adult, right? You probably secure a job and you're going to go find a rental for the most part, right? The majority of people who leave their parents' house and then they start kind of becoming independent, getting their own job, making their own income, they're going to go rent an affordable apartment, at least for a couple of years or so, until they advance in their career, so that way later, they can basically accomplish the American dream of buying a house, right? So if we know that our customers first leave their parents' house, rent an apartment, save up a bunch of money, then buy a house, and then years later maybe sell that house to upgrade to a new house, right? We need to understand how to start at stage one. And that is literally accomplished by working as an apartment locator, right? What you're doing as an apartment locator is, first of all, earning six figures your first year purely with apartment rentals, right? Because everyone rents before they purchase a house, right? But then later, all you're really doing is you're growing your real estate pipeline and you're building a relationship through tactics that I teach in my paid program. We utilize a CRM to send out automatic text and emails that are really kind of value add to stay relevant throughout the whole lease term of our client, right? So that way they're always thinking of us. So that way, when we ask to become their buyer's agent in the future, when they're done with their apartment, then we'll be able to get that representation and then that buyer's rep agreement signed like a piece of cake. Right? So the big trick and the big golden nugget here is to get your foot in the door and start building a relationship with people in the easiest way, which is by being an apartment locator and helping them with their rental. Because the fact in the market today is that there are less than 10,000 professionals even utilizing this business model. A lot of realtors don't even know they can help clients as an apartment locator. And so that's such a competitive advantage for you guys if you start with this industry, because it's like no one's really helping people rent apartments, but that's literally the first step that your own real estate customer avatar is taking. So obviously it's smart to help someone rent an apartment at stage one, so then you can naturally build a relationship with them, and no one else is even utilizing this tactic right now if you just study the numbers, right? So that's why this is very, very exciting. Apartment locating is very, very fast, and closing clients is very fast and easy. But the golden nugget is, if you build a relationship through modern tactics throughout their lease term, you can seriously get a competitive advantage and then really get easy buyer representation agreements signed, and then listing agreements in the future signed, a whole lot easier to make even more money for the years to follow. So that's why apartment locating makes a whole lot of sense. You only really need one paid tool to get this done right and to send out an invoice to the properties that you referred your clients to. so you can collect your commission. So I hope that actually clears up a lot of things about why this industry is so freaking exciting right now in 2021. And if you guys want to further break down on what this industry has to offer and if this might be a good fit for you, then I encourage you to click the link somewhere in this video or so. And if there's no link, all you gotta do is just type in pierremeji.com/register. Go to that URL and then go ahead and register for my apartment locator webinar, where me and a co-host, Heather, we're going to go ahead and break down this industry, see if it's a good fit for you, show you how to actually win, right? We're going to break down 3 keys on how you can win over typical apartment locators and really get the job done right. And then at the end of that presentation, I'm going to basically ask you to become one of my students so I can be your mentor and hold your hand A to Z through my apartment locating masterclass as your paid mentor. So that's what comes after. It's about a 60-minute presentation, but it's super value packed. So regardless if you want to invest in my masterclass or not, at least check out the webinar. It's free. There's going to be tons more value, more detailed information in there. So go check that out. Click the link or just go to pierremeji.com/register. And I hope to see you guys on the next episode.